Good morning, ladies and gents, and welcome to the morning edition of Monday Motivation. That's what we're going to call it. We're going to call it Monday Motivation. Holiday, Thanksgiving, Monday Motivation. Really can't use this upcoming weekend because, again, everybody's going to be eating and shopping like we've been talking about. So, this is why we're doing it today, but a little bit of motivation here, just to some things to tie in and some things to go forward here. Again, we talked about the pitfalls of the holiday, and this is kind of tie into the end of the Sunday message. So you're going to hear some verses, but again, it's this idea of coming back to returning to a very serious thought process. And although I'm using scripture verses from the Bible, for those who do not subscribe to Christianity Weekly, I will use, just to use that analogy. You might not be part of that magazine, and you might believe something different. That's okay, because the same ideas, you go through whatever you believe, the same ideas are there and present as well. So let's just get into a thought here from this morning, just because, again, I listen to my own material, folks. I don't. It's not a vain thing. You cannot speak, you cannot give and pour into someone else's life from an empty well. You have to be full of again, they use that term for other things, that you have to be full of the gift in which you are giving out, in order for you have to channel and keep yourself plugged in, if you will, in order to be able to provide power elsewhere. So we're going to start by these two thought processes, and then we'll go from there with these verses and end it. Not going to try to make it too long today, because, again, you got the holidays here, people got stuff to do. So stop looking in life to a person's words. Stop, aka stop listening to them. We're gonna back it up biblically here, so I'm not just shooting off the cuff. And there's a reason for it. Stop looking to what people are saying in life. Start looking to their actions. Start looking to what they're saying, because stop looking at what they're saying, start looking to their actions, because in their actions is where the actual truth is. People can speak and have good speaking skills. Some people say I have a good speaking voice. I mean, I don't really put too much stock into that. We're just here to talk. We're just here to articulate, talk, and let people know what's going on in the world around them. But the idea is in the actions. See, again, when you see greed and you see giving, there's some very serious things there. One, you can always see an all-consuming thing. While both consume to an extent, one is constantly then re-putting back in, per se. This has a lot to do with that story in Exodus of the sorcerers and Moses making snakes and all that, and how one feeds into the other. And that's not a diss on the other ones per se. It's just one feeds into the other, and you have to be aware of certain things. See, again, a lot of people look at Bible verses and these and all these stories. They look at them really superficially. There's more there. There's more there. So, and the same thing with people's words. What you say and the thank yous and the I appreciate you and all that, hidden behind the scenes is some very serious stuff. And again, a person who's genuine, you're going to know. We're going to get into genuineness here and sincerity here in a minute, in a certain word that's very important. Second thought, in Revelations, it talks about this Jezebel that's in the church, and a lot of Christians will chase this. They chase it like nobody's business, what the Jezebel is in the church, and they'll start talking about unholiness and who's choir director is sleeping with who's underage, this, that, and the other, and what pastor's sleeping with this member of the church and all that kind of thing, which those things do have some meaning to them, okay? Because there is a level of responsibility. That's not down in sex, okay? That's not down in church folk getting together. What I said was a level of responsibility. And maybe that level of responsibility is not being shown in those scenarios, okay? right? Molestation's not supposed to be a thing. Priests not supposed to be molesting little boys here. Just learning life. Okay? Rape of any type is wrong. You ought to be asking. And when they tell you no means no. But again, when you're dealing with greed, guess what? No don't mean no. Ain't no time for no when we trying to acquire and take. See, unfortunately, and the horror, and I laugh through it again. Y'all have heard me say that it's not making light of a thing. Sometimes I will do that because it is, it's deep. It's very, it's so evil, so horrible, so horrid at its core. And sometimes I laugh through it to get through it. But you're talking about people who have wound up in therapy chairs, their lives crippled on the inside. Might look all right on the outside, but inside, they're dying, hurting because of the actions people do here. See, that's what I'm talking about. Check out their actions. They can say these nice things, but you will always notice. This is to the naive. Nothing wrong being naive. Everybody starts out naive, then they learn things over time. You know, so before then, and this that thing. That's why the Bible talks about God using things to confound the wise here. Things that seem dumb and seem weak to confound the wise and the strong, because the great Creator Bob knew this mess was coming, and knew the mess was coming. The more important thing of the Jezebel in the church, other than unholiness, is more based on lack of honesty and partiality, which is much more worse. Do not be the kind of person where you deal in being bought. Again, you've got stories like young Jewish boys. Okay, you got Daniel. Go back and read the accounts. Daniel, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Reread your revolutionary accounts through history. See, again, this is a combination of stuff. History was going on while the Bible's being written, folks. It is part of history, mind you. You can't be bought. You see, again, people twist. Remember we talked about these notions twisted? You twist quid pro quo. You twist compromise. Look up all these words and phrases. And they do it on purpose. It's not the real definition, but they do it on purpose to take. Can be bought. Give and take is a thing, but it can go real quick out of balance. You can either give too much, and this goes for people who what they call them yes folks, yes men. Again, you can give too much. This goes people pleasers. Everybody struggles with it. I've struggled with it. Everybody has struggled with it. And you got to get to the point where no is no. See? You got to be okay saying yes the same way you got to be okay saying no. People dealing in a lot of dishonesty and partiality today. It's not cool anymore. It never was. It still isn't. And again, if you believe in the great God above, you believe in God, if you believe in Christianity and the story of Jesus' birth, death, and resurrection, if you believe in such sacrifice, and you ought to have in your being 100% this kind of idea. Bible talks about, let this mind be in you that was also in Christ. Christ did not allow himself to be bought by a society that was geared to destroy and take from people. And if you're going to call yourself a follower of said person, you got to buy into that mentality. And it all don't have to do solely with this immorality stuff they come up with. Because again, we broke down the word moral, if it's dealing with things about right and wrong. Something that is very just as, if not more so, right and wrong is partiality and dishonesty. It's where lying comes in. All that type of stuff. And the only reason you do it is to sway a situation to your benefit. And again, most of the time, the thing they're trying to benefit is something they cannot take with them when they die. It could be a position at work. It could be a certain amount of money. It could be a person like a wife or a husband. Guess what? When you're dead, it ain't coming with you. Check out the story in the Bible about David killing his soldiers, one of his top soldiers. Talk about the stuff going on in the Middle East. Go reread that story. Killing one of his top soldiers, taking his wife. Well, let's rewind it. Had sex with his wife. And we're going to get into this again. Come Valentine's Day, y'all stay tuned. Oh man, y'all stay tuned. Took his wife, got her pregnant to hide his sin, because that is adultery. Again, I'm speaking some incomplete thought here, so before folks start hanging me from the gallows, just put a pin in what I'm saying, and we will complete the thought on the back end next year. Understand that that is the definition of adultery. That is wrong. And what David did to cover it up was kill that man. See, we're talking about partiality now. You go start giving yourself over to dishonesty and partiality, and it's the basis for Thanksgiving. The same kind of thing is the basis for a lot of this mess you see in life. People unwhole on the inside. Somebody said it this way: hurting people hurt people, and that is the truth. That is the truth. When you see folks dealing in this levels of deceit and twisting words and phrases and all that kind of stuff, they broken on the inside. They broke in on the inside. They've given themselves over to some stuff here. You got to live your life in a way where you, again, we're talking biblical now, where you're above reproach. This is God talking. So let's get into it here, because I feel myself going on a little bit here. So let's go into Romans. And again, these are things you can look up online. I would say if you're doing this, try to get to the original language as much as you can. Now, I understand I've spoken on my idea of the King James Version of the Bible, again, from history here, which is a thing. But again, when you're getting closer and start breaking it down, break down the Greek, break down the Hebrew, get your lexicons, get your concordances, all different names of Bible study aids, get dictionaries, all this stuff, things to deal with the land, so different historical references. You got it to get a clear view, right? Different view to get it. You gotta go get it, and these are the ways to go getting it. So right off at the beginning here, we'll probably do about 4 verses here. So number 1, I'm reading out the King James Version. I found it easier for me to hop back and forth into definitions of words and phrases by going back to what was considered closest. Because again, there's a lot of missteps in the King James. But again, I digress. I beseech you, therefore, brethren. Now, again, you're gonna see me do this. So, I beseech you, therefore, people, folks, by the mercies of God, that you present your bodies a living sacrifice, holy, acceptable unto God, which is your reasonable service. So again, some of this I'm going to get into in Valentine's Day. A lot of this portrays just anything. A lot of, because, see, again, we talked last night. It literally is last night. That's when I did the episode. Your body is not your own. Okay. And tying that into this idea where everybody thinks they own something, you don't. This nation is built where they own you. It's not a shared thing. So your reasonable service, and here's the big one now. See, here's that's your reasonable service. So when people do this stuff, right, and you should thank people. See, we got to get back to thanking people for what they do. We got to get back to being truly thankful for people putting in positive energies into places where it's such negative. That's a real thing. That's a real thing all across this planet. Again, what we saw in 2020, where we started thanking nurses and we started thanking first responders of all types, helping with that disease that we look down upon on a daily basis, or we give very little credit to. You know, those people have always been important. It just took that disease to wake up in peeps. That's what we mean about stay woke. It took that virus and that horrible outbreak that we still deal with the reverberating effects of. It took all that for us to see what was going on. So, and we should thank them. Same thing with the military. We should thank them. Guess how we should be thanking them too? See, I never had a chance to say this. I forgot to say it. We're going to say it now on this on this little excerpt. They need the money put in the pocket. Can we be a little honesty, right? Can we be a little transparent today? They need the money put in their pocket. They got families that they left to go defend this mess. And before you pay, now I did not say ball players shouldn't get paid. See, again, people got these predetermined defenses locked and loaded in their hearts and in their minds and stuff. I did not say the ball player not supposed to get paid, but if you're going to pay them, guess who else you got to be paying? The ones protecting them to get paid. Which is also why because of that, there needs to be a high level of accountability inside the military, which is why stupid stuff like what you saw in the movie A Few Good Men with Code Reds and all this partiality needs to stop. If you need sensitivity class to come back to a revelation or an understanding that people are precious of whom you are protecting, then that's what it is. And that's what's so horrible about war, is that you got to go against that in order to do protecting. That does something to the psyche on the inside. That's why these people having these wars to cover their sins is so sick. And be not conformed to this world. Now, Christians for the longest has used this to bash people, but I'm going to flip the definition on its edge. We're talking about greed, and we're talking about partiality, and we're talking about dishonesty. We're talking about things inside of the church. Wrong. They are wrong. You don't do it to formulate your congregation. You don't do it to formulate. You're talking about that idea of judgment starting in the house of God. You don't do certain stuff, folks. And although we see these elements in the planet around us, don't mean we're supposed to be operating in it. And because life is lived in balance, you have to have your group of people who do not operate in it. Do not be conformed to this. Transform. Be ye I don't even know how else to say it. As a matter of fact, Bible says it most plainly. Be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind. That clearly tells you right there, folks. Again, talking about reasonable service, all this kind of thing. And we're going to get to a goodie here at the end of this. And this will help out a lot of people. Be transformed by the renewing of your mind so that you can prove what is the good and acceptable and perfect will of God. Notice the definition there. Notice the splitting in the words, right? Talking about using commas and all that kind of thing. Notice this. Now, again, when you do biblical study, you understand that it's a run on. It's like talking to somebody where you use punctuations in order to help people understand stuff. Now, for me personally, dealing with punctuation and stuff like that, you can do that by putting a bunch of little periods everywhere. You don't have to use a comma. That's why I don't really use commas and semicolons and colons and all this silly stuff that they came up in English language and in England and all that kind of. Again, you're speaking the language of your captor. Make up something different. Be bold enough to do something different. Might flip out people's minds, but that don't matter. See, again, everybody flipped out on Noah. Yep, the rain's coming. We got to make that ark. Oh, the rain's coming. We got to build that boat. Hey, Noah, we ain't seen rain in forever, man. What are you doing? This don't make no sense. You looking stupid building this big old boat. And guess what happened? All that rain came and drowned out them people who was talking that mess. Now, see, the salvation was there for them just the same. See, again, be no respecter of persons. Another thing that the Bible talks about. God is no respecter of persons. If you're following after God, guess what you got to be then? No respecter of persons. Notice that is in the Bible with all of the other do's and don'ts, what you're not supposed to do. This is why Jesus, dealing with that woman that was caught in adultery, which why would you are the guardians of holding up truth, right? Guardians of the galaxy. You're the guardians of holding up truth and justice that's left here in the Holy Scriptures. And what do you do with it? You go from house to house looking to see who's screwing. Come on, man. Jesus had to step in on that one. I mean, like, honestly, I just kind of, that you got to step in on that one. That's fine. Oh man, you ain't without sin like that to be that quote unquote holy, sanctimonious. Another one of them words, a pious. Is gross. But I digress. There are levels to this, and this helps people who quote unquote miss it. who have made mistakes in their lives, all that kind of thing. The game is not over for you. Again, we talk about the multiverse. There are multiple endings to the story. And thank the Creator above for making life that way. You might not hit, let's see, what do they say? You might not hit the perfect will of God. You might hit the acceptable. You might not hit the acceptable. You might hit the good. But you're in the game. You see what I'm saying? You're in the game. Take confidence in that. Take some solace in that. Renew your mind. That means your mind gets to a point where it needs renewing. You got to update, refresh, right? Update. We all got these phones, computers. You know about that update. We know about that update. Do it with your mind. Everything you know, again, renew it. Study, find out, right? Renew it. And again, you've heard me say this, but we're going to end on it with this verse, and then we're going to hop into the next one. I say, through the grace given to me, to every person, again, they use that word man, but to every person that is among you, to not think more highly. Now, again, they say of himself. Do not think more highly of yourself than you ought to think, but to think soberly. So, you see, it's already given you the antithesis of the thought with inside the thought. So, if you were thinking soberly, what would be the opposite of it? If you were thinking soberly, just from what this is being said already, what would it be? Thinking soberly would be to not think of yourself more highly than you ought to think, which means when you're not thinking soberly, what would it be? You would be thinking more highly of yourself than you. The Bible is plain, folks. When Jesus is talking about the burden and the various burdens of life, you're told that God's is light. Life is not as difficult as what people are making it difficult. God, the life made is not difficult. According to the end of the verse, as according God has dealt to every person the measure or a measure, the measure. Okay, again, look at the words here, of faith or belief. And we broke that down before talking about Halloween. It's what you believe. Every person has the ability to believe, just like they got the ability to choose. Same thing. Now flip on a little bit further down in the chapter to the 17th and 18th verse, because this is where we're talking about dealing honestly now. Do not repay. Now the word recompense, right? Do not repay. Don't pay back. Don't pay back people evil for evil. Now, folks, take this out of balance when it talks about defending yourself. Okay. Do not let people just step over you. Can I just say that real plainly? The great God above that is also telling us to not repay evil for evil would also mean, and when somebody's trying to hurt you, you just don't let them hurt you, right? So there's a level of defense there. That also doesn't mean, kind of like when we watch, I'll use this as an example, Star Wars Episode 3, right? This whole thing that started leading Anakin Skywalker down the path of evil, killing a defenseless man. No matter how evil, killing a defenseless man, an unarmed person, okay? There's certain levels to these things. You got to respect them. That's repaying evil for evil. You can defend yourself without going these routes. You see what I'm saying? Do not repay. So when they start doing that, no, you can defend yourself. Okay. Somebody trying to hurt you, you better defend yourself. Okay. Don't repay him evil for evil. Provide things honest. So I'm going to stop and do the definition on the word honest here so we understand as we keep reading. Honest definition, sincere, free of deceit and untruthfulness. Deceit means concealing the truth. So do things, provide things, give things, be to people things. That's what provide deals with. Honest, sincere, free of deceit, free of concealing the truth. That means start showing the truth. That's how we're supposed to live our lives, folks. Honest in the sight, again, they use that word men, in the sight of all people. Again, I think the Bible is most you don't need much commentary on this. The next verse, and this I always go with this one, is big. It's big to me. It's very big to me. If it be at all possible. Now, there's times because of the verse like that, y'all heard me break it down, so break it down. There's times it's not possible. But again, combine biblical context. Repay no man evil for evil. See? You can defend yourself without doing certain things to folks. If it be at all possible. Also, this idea that it is possible. For as many times as it's not, many more times so, it is possible for us to live. We choose not to. To live as much lieth in you. Now again, God is understanding. That's why Paul is saying this, right? Because again, there's some circumstances where you gotta defend yourself, okay? But that don't mean you just go around throwing that weight around. See, we're not supposed to be repaying evil for evil. There's a difference. Live peaceably with, again, I got men here. Live peaceably with all people. If it's possible, live in peace. Which means if you got to come away from folks to live in peace, come away from them. You got warmongering people around you. Folks just believe in being too competitive all the time. We all know folks like this. Why would you get involved? This is that unequally yoked thing we were talking about. Why would you get involved when you don't have to? To keep peace. So in order to set fellowship with these people, you're going to get into an argument with them because they do something rub you the wrong way. And again, this is different from being accepting of all peoples, because there's a thing with that. But at the same time, if something rubbing you the wrong way, you just don't sit there and expose that to you like that. Come away from it. All right, so let's go on to this next one here. Hebrews, that was the one from last night that I forgot, which I apologize. I said I'd find it, so I found it. So we're going to read it. And then we'll go on from there. Hebrews 18, we're going to read 17 and 18. I want to, because I want to put this thing to bed. This ties into this Thanksgiving thing, because they do this with bosses. They give bosses an out, and leaders of all types in all government, employment, business relationships of all types, folks. This ain't singling out not one of them. This is everybody in the mixture here. And it's important because you're ruling and reigning over people. You're leading people. We're supposed to be leading them to a promised land. See, again, when greed's involved, though, that promised land is for somebody else, not you. Obey them that have rule over you. Submit yourselves for the now. That most folks just stop right there, because again, people don't. When the heat too hot in the kitchen, you got to get away. Here is the keys in this verse. They watch over your souls. So check this out. What would be the opposite of that? If the person ain't watching over my soul, if they doing things clearly it ain't out for me, should I be obeying them? You see how they see not dealing in honesty. See, you skip this stuff because you got to have people buy into a certain thought process in order to take from them. Would you submit yourself to somebody who is not looking out, watching out for your best interests? Nope. And another verse here literally talks about profitability to you, but we're gonna get into that here in a minute, and we'll try to wrap this up. We're 30 minutes in. We're gonna try to wrap this up, folks. As they must give account. They give account. See, I told y'all, see, folks chasing after stuff here that is the what do you believe? And people doing a lot of stuff off the wrong stuff here. They have to give an account that they may do it with joy. You ever notice when you watch certain people here, this even happens with presidents, all this kind of stuff, when they've been dealing in that foul mess, you ever notice how they get older overnight? And most people will say this is because they will say this is because of the people they're dealing with. I'm letting y'all know today it is because of all of the garbage that they keep portraying. and keep orchestrating and allowing to occur to people that they're ruling over. That's why they get so older like that. It does something to you physically when you operate in such garbage from a spiritual base. From another word that people use to kind of help them understand something outside of this physical realm, from a metaphysical base. It does something to you. It's just like in the reverse, when it does something to you when you're not doing that, you carefree. See, them burdens, you ain't holding on to them burdens, man. You took up God's, which is light. See, you can go around happy, not a forced happy, not where you're not looking and seeing for what's going on around you, not where you protect yourself and you keep yourself so you're not hurt by people. We're not talking about that part. But you on the inside, you're happy, you're content. You can go to a place and be okay. In the Bible, in Psalms 91, it talks about it being a secret place, and it is very secretive. People don't reach it because they keep messing around in partiality and dishonesty. That they may do it with joy and not grief. These folks look real sad too, man. When they got to deal around with people who real, like, and we're using some terms they use, when fake folk deal with real folk, they have such a scrunched up face. They're so sad. I wonder why. Because the realness in you is combative by nature to the fakeness in them. Again, when we talking about folks building companies and doing things where people can go to places, that's why you see all that you see in life. All these changes all of a sudden. It ain't because these kids are weak. They have watched what their parents have done. And they like, nope, I'm good now. I'm good. We ain't doing the next generation like that. And thank God they see it. And the more this continues to go on and come out, see, again, like what dude says in Jurassic Park, what Jeff Goldblum says, life always finds a way, folks. There ain't enough people they can kill in mass murder down here to hide it, because the great provider of us all has made sure there is provision here. The Bible talks about in the Gospels that if God can provide for the birds, how much more so has he done for humans? Talking about not worrying about things. People got to get back to a very serious spiritual base here. This is for real. this is for real. The end of this verse, check this out. It is unprofitable for you. The Apostle Paul, toward the end of his ministry, following after God, lets you know it is not profitable for you to obey and submit yourself to those who rule over you, that do not watch after your soul, that do not watch after that which would profit you. You've heard me talk about this on these episodes on this podcast, about staying away from and doing things that put profit back into you. Start getting involved in saving things. Little by little, if you have to. Again, the game is to take from you. Now again, you've got the story in the Bible about the people with talents. Put your stuff, even if it is to something that gives you lack of interest, the attempt. Just don't sit there and let them take from you. Get your stuff out there where it can help. Get your stuff out there where it helps you. You can't help nobody else if you're not helping you. Let's see. We done did. Did we do Ephesians? We didn't do Ephesians. So Ephesians 25. Wherefore, putting away lying. And you know, a lot of people, folks, twist that truth. They got to twist the truth because, again, they got to get you to believe something to take from you. You're told to put it away. See, Christians deal in this mess. We're talking about people, Catholic, Baptist, Reformed. It don't matter. It don't matter the denomination. People who believe in this garbage. You're told to put it away from you. That would mean in every type of business relationship. That would mean in any type of relationship. Deal honestly in the affairs of life. Put away lying. Speak every, now again, this word man, speak every person truth with their neighbor. Speak the truth. Again, right? Concealing the truth. That's what dishonesty did. That's what honesty deals with, being free of concealing the truth. So then therefore you wouldn't be lying because you'd be speaking truth to people. It's much easier to live that kind of a life. With the combining of renewing your mind. So you would speak something as far as you know. Guess what? When you find out information, renew. Constantly update. See? Again, this is how God is. God is constantly progressing in knowledge. Because God is all knowledge. Understand? So it's coming. See? And we have been made in that image. So as a result, when you find something new, when it fits, again, this is what we're talking about, using your good knowledge, using your good God-given sense, belief, and logic. When the two of them come together, man, that thing's supposed to look so powerful. Hopefully y'all hear the little peanut music in the background here. It is the holiday season, so, you know, little Snoopy stuff. For we are members one of another. The Bible talks about how many parts, one body. We got to get away from this isolationist thing. While you need to come away from stuff that is meant to hurt you, at the same time, it is not good for people to be alone. See? It's not good for people to be alone. It is not. Not even close. So, that's what I got for you today, folks. Again, this was a lot of the stuff that they twisted. They weren't taught. The Puritans, and again, these Puritans were English Protestants, folks. They were Protestants. They were Christians. See, Protestants, and when you study the Protestant thing, we're talking about coming against the evil in the Roman Catholic Church, and then meanwhile they went evil, teaming up, talking about religious freedom. What religious freedom? You wouldn't come in these lands for religious freedom. You wanted to peddle this garbage that you twisted in the scripture, and you didn't want to get called out for it. See, again, you took the holy notion of religious freedom to support your sickness. That's not freedom. That's leading people into bondage. And that's some very dishonest stuff. It's time to switch the game up, folks, and live honestly. That's what I got for today, folks. Thanks for coming on this little journey. And as always, look to find the beauty in a different view.